Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So I've wanted to make this video for a long time now, as I've always had a full-time job throughout my working life. I started work at the age of 16, and apart from when I travelled for a few months and for two very short periods of unemployment, like about 2 or 3 months in total in my whole working life, I've always worked, and sometimes I've worked more than 40 hours a week. But I've always managed to find time for language learning. So I just wanted to share a few tips or ideas with you if you find that you haven't got enough time to study languages. So next week I'll be going back to work, and this is what spurred me on to think of this, because obviously I've had more time lately because I've been under furlough, I've been in lockdown, and so I've been at home able to make more videos. But as that made me make more videos, actually, I think it has a little bit, but still I will be learning languages when I go back to work. So those are some of the tips I want to share with you. So let's get into the video. So tip number one is to assign at least 10 minutes a day to your language learning. It's more effective to study something frequently in small chunks than to try to cram everything into one session per week. So choose a time of day that's best for you. I mean, I'm quite a morning person. So years ago, I used to laugh at my dad because he used to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go out to work. He worked in a factory for years, and he was a real morning person. He used to get up, have breakfast, and do all these things in the morning. And I wasn't like that. But now I've changed, and I am now a morning person as well, like my dad. So that's the best time for me, like 5 o'clock in the morning. So tip number two, if you travel to work or you travel to your studying or wherever you travel every day, you could use that time to listen to your target language. So if you're driving, for example, you could have a CD playing in the car of your language learning stuff. If you like music, you could listen to a CD of your favorite artist from that particular language that you're learning. Try to learn a song, the lyrics of a song. You could listen to a radio station in that language. Or you could just be, if you're walking to work, for example, you could be counting your footsteps, learning the numbers in your language. So hopefully it's not like 6,000 footsteps to work, because you'll be brilliant at, at numbers by the time you get to work. So tip number three is to try and think in your target language during the day or during your shift at work. I don't really want this to interfere with your work. So, if your job involves a lot of thinking and, don't sort of put yourself on your job on the line. I don't want your boss coming up to you and saying, like, is that document ready yet? And you're going like, wait, or something like that. They'll think you've gone bonkers. But I guess it depends on your work. So if you don't have the opportunity to use a target language in the workplace, you could try actively to think in it. So, for example, if you have a to-do list to do in your job and you write a to-do list every day, whether you do that before you go home for the next day or in the morning, and you could write it in your target language instead of your native language. If you're not able to do this, you might share your to-do list with colleagues. Then you could try to think of your tasks that you have to do in your target language. So you don't get into trouble for this, but it's just a suggestion that, it's an additional way that you could sneakily sneak your target language into your job every day. So tip number four is that you could change your language on your PC. So before you do this, though, I must say that if you're changing your language to something very different, like that's in a completely different script, you might want to write down the steps of how you've changed it first, because I did this in Chinese before, just as I first started learning Chinese, and I didn't have a clue how to get it back. And it's a bit daft doing this kind of in your early stages of learning a language, unless your language is similar to your native language, of course, or another language that you already know. So you may be able to guess the way to navigate around a site that you've changed it on. So I did this on Facebook for Chinese, and it took me a while to work out how to get it back. There are videos on YouTube on how to change your target language back to English or your native language. So yeah, please do write down the steps first. But this is a good way to familiarize yourself with everyday terms that are used. So, for example, like words like posting and Facebook war and things like this, and you get to pick up the jargon of that particular website. So it's quite a good way to do it. Tip number 5 is to subscribe to YouTube channels. So not this one necessarily, but I'm grateful if you do. Subscribe to a specific YouTube channel that teaches that particular language that you're learning. So, for example, I've just had a notification come up for Portuguese com Marcia Macedo, because I like to try to maintain the little bit of Portuguese that I've learned so far. So that reminds me to go to her website, to go to her channel, and without that, I probably would not bother with maintaining any Portuguese that I've learned before. So that's a good way to get you to engage with the language a bit more. And you can watch the YouTube videos. Some of them are very short, so you could watch them on your break. You could watch them when you get a chance, when you get home in the evening, between TV programs or something. That leads me on to tip number 6. The next tip is to have a journal or have some kind of record of your language progress. So it's very easy to get disheartened with not being able to see how much you've progressed. But sometimes when you look back and you compare how you are now with last month, you amaze yourself sometimes and you think, oh, I've done quite well actually, compared to last month. So, you could spend all day beating yourself up about your lack of progress and your lack of, progress in the language. But obviously, if you are working all day and you haven't got much time, then you're not going to make like leaps and bounds of progress as much as people who have got hours and hours to spare during the day, in theory. But if you follow some of these tips, you will make progress, because there'll be all sort of things that you can do in the background. So, changing your Facebook page to your target language, having these reminders come up. Tip number 7 is get a language learning partner. So you can go onto various websites these days and get a language learning partner. You can pick up a language partner from Facebook. You can get italki teachers. There's so many places you can go to get a language learning friend. And if you haven't really got much time, you could text the person or, message them on Facebook Messenger or whatever it is. And that way you can get back to them when you're available to, because there might be a time zone difference as well. I mean, somebody wanted to be a language partner with me in Korean. I don't actually know any Korean, and it's one of those languages that I was thinking of starting, but I've held back on it because I want to get my other languages up to a better level first. But there's a time zone difference, obviously, so it's like 8 or 9 hours difference, and in that respect, you might not be able to be chatting all the time, but you could, do a little bit of chatting during the day with the person. So that could work. And obviously, if you do FaceTime chatting for language partnering, then that's good. And if you are doing that, I advise you to have a balanced time between the two, because obviously if that person wants you to share your English or whatever your language is with them, you don't want to be just giving all your own language. You want to get something back. So hopefully it's going to be 50-50 exchange, unless you enjoy, teaching, then that's fine. But this video is all about getting you to learn more language. So, have a balanced approach to that, and let me know how you get on with it. So I'd be interested to hear if any of these tips are helpful, if they work for you, if you already use them, or if you have any other tips, let me know. Stay safe, take care, see you soon.